TLDR, Fiancée 28F, wanted to keep her $200 trust fund separate, just in case our marriage fails. I, 31M, agreed and set up my own financial safety net. She's now freaking out that I'm not being romantic about marriage. I'm sitting here at 2 a.m. writing this because I honestly can't believe how this situation has spiraled. My fiancée Jessica and I have been together for 3.5 years, engaged for 10 months. Wedding is supposed to be in 2 months in Napa Valley. We already put down a $15 deposit. So here's what happened. Last Tuesday, we were at our financial planner's office in downtown San Francisco discussing how to merge our finances after marriage. Jessica has a $200 trust fund from her grandmother, and I have about $180 in various investments plus my tech job income, $145 a year. Her salary as a marketing manager is around $85. Our advisor, Margaret, was explaining different approaches to married finances when Jessica suddenly spoke up. Actually, I've been thinking, I want to keep my trust fund completely separate, as a safety net. I looked at her confused. Safety net for what? Well, she fidgeted with her engagement ring. Statistics show that 50% of marriages end in divorce. I just think it's smart planning to keep some assets protected, just in case things don't work out. Margaret shifted uncomfortably. I sat there processing what I just heard. So you want to keep your trust fund as divorce insurance, I said slowly. Don't say it like that. It's just being practical, like having emergency savings. I nodded. You know what? You're absolutely right. That's really smart thinking. Her face lit up with relief. I knew you'd understand. You're always so logical about these things. Definitely. In fact, I think I should set up my own safety net too. Margaret, can you help me establish a separate investment account? I'd like to put about $120 in there. The color drained from Jessica's face. Wait, what? Well, if we're both being practical about the divorce statistics, I should protect myself too, right? I mean, you just said 50% of marriages fail. Jessica started backtracking immediately. That's not. I mean, the trust fund is different. It's family money. And my investments are my money. Same principle. Margaret, bless her, just quietly started typing notes. Update 1. The conversation that evening. That night at Jessica's apartment in the Mission, we had what she called a serious discussion and what I call her realizing the implications of her own logic. Marcus, you're missing the point, she said, pacing around her living room. My trust fund isn't about not trusting you. It's about being prepared. I agree completely, which is why I'm being prepared too. But you setting up a separate account feels like you're planning for divorce. I stared at her. Jess, that's literally exactly what you said you were doing. That's different. How? She struggled for words. Because women are more vulnerable in divorce. We take career hits for having kids, the pay gap. You don't want kids. We've discussed this multiple times, and you make good money. That's not the point. Then what is the point? Long pause. The point is that my money should stay mine, and your money should be ours. There it was. The truth finally came out. So when you said just in case, you meant just in case I need to support you financially through a divorce while you keep your nest egg? You're twisting my words. Am I? Because from where I'm sitting, you want me to share financial risk while you minimize yours. She started crying, the kind of strategic tears that usually get me to cave. Not this time. Fine, she sobbed. Keep your precious money separate. See how romantic that is. Romance is choosing to be with someone, not gambling your financial security on it. She threw a pillow at me and locked herself in the bedroom. Update 2. The family meeting. 3 days later, Jessica's parents requested a meeting. Her father, David, is a successful real estate developer in Marin County. Her mother, Linda, comes from old San Francisco money. That's where the trust fund originated. We met at their house in Tiburon. The view was gorgeous. The conversation was not. Marcus, David started, Jessica tells us you're having some pre-wedding concerns about finances. Not concerns, just making sure we're both protected equally. Linda chimed in with her practiced socialite smile. Darling, you have to understand. The trust fund has been in our family for generations. It's not really Jessica's money to share. I respect that, which is why I'm keeping my investments separate too. David's face hardened. Son, that's not how this works. A man provides security for his wife. A man provides security, and a woman provides, what exactly? A backup plan? Jessica is giving you herself, her love, her commitment to building a life together, while keeping $200 in escape money. Linda gasped like I'd said something vulgar. It's not escape money, it's security. Same thing, Linda. She's secure in the knowledge that if our marriage fails, she'll be fine. I'm just making sure I'll be fine too. Jessica had been quiet until now. Suddenly she exploded. This is insane. We're supposed to be partners. Partners share risk equally, Jess. You want to privatize your gains and socialize your losses. David stood up, trying to look intimidating. Now you listen here. No, you listen. Your daughter spent 3.5 years with me. She knows I'm not abusive, not a cheater, not financially irresponsible. Yet she still wants divorce insurance. That tells me she doesn't actually want to marry me. She wants to marry my paycheck while keeping her options open. The silence was deafening. Finally, Linda spoke. Maybe you two should postpone the wedding. Maybe we should. Jessica ran out crying. Update 3, the friend intervention. Jessica's friend group decided to stage an intervention. They cornered me at my gym in Soma, Madison, Sophie, and Rebecca, all clutching their green juices like weapons. Marcus, we need to talk, Madison announced. About? You're destroying Jessica over money, Sophie accused. She's barely eating. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just matching her energy. Rebecca jumped in. She's just trying to be smart. Women need financial security. And men don't? That's different. You make more money. So she has a trust fund. But that's family money, Madison stressed. And my investment account is my money. What's the difference? They exchanged looks. Sophie tried again. The difference is you think I should take all the financial risk while Jessica keeps her safety net. She's not keeping a safety net, Rebecca protested. She literally called it a safety net. More silence. Madison played the guilt card. She's been crying for a week. The wedding venue is booked. Deposits are paid. Then she should give up the trust fund separation. Why can't you just trust her? Sophie pleaded. Why can't she trust me enough to actually combine finances? They had no answer for that. Update 4, the nuclear option. 2 weeks ago, Jessica tried to force my hand. She'd been telling everyone that we were working through some minor financial details and that the wedding was still on track. Then she sent out an email to all our wedding guests with an update about our beautiful new financial planning journey as a married couple, and how we were so grateful for their support during this exciting time of unity and commitment. The email included a link to our wedding registry, which she'd updated with expensive items, a $3,000 coffee machine, a $5,000 dining set, a $2,500 vacation fund. My phone started buzzing immediately. Family, friends, co-workers, everyone congratulating me on working things out and asking about our honeymoon plans. I texted Jessica, "What the hell is this email about?" Her response, "Just being positive. The wedding is in 6 weeks. We haven't resolved anything. We will. You just need to stop being stubborn about the money thing. The money thing is the whole thing. Then fix it." That night, she showed up at my apartment in Soma with a bottle of expensive wine and wearing the dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. "Let's talk about this like adults," she purred, trying to seduce me into submission. "We are talking like adults. That's the problem. Marcus, baby, I miss you. I miss us. Can't we just go back to how things were? You mean back to when I didn't know you were planning our divorce before our wedding?" Her seductive mask slipped. "I'm not planning our divorce." "Then give up the separate trust fund." I can't do that. Then we have our answer." She tried tears next. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under. My family, my friends, everyone's asking about the wedding." "Tell them the truth." "What truth?" "That you want me to financially commit to a marriage you're not willing to emotionally commit to." "That's not fair." "Life's not fair, Jess, but partnerships should be." She left the wine and took the dress. Update 5, the prenup panic. Last week, Jessica's attorney contacted my attorney about a prenup. Nothing unusual there. We discussed having one. But when I saw the terms, I nearly choked on my coffee. The prenup she wanted would keep her trust fund completely separate, obviously, make me responsible for 70% of all marital expenses, give her 50% of any property purchased during marriage, entitle her to spousal support if we divorced, Protect her future inheritance, her parents are loaded. Make me responsible for her student loans, about $45. Meanwhile, my separate investment account would be completely accessible to her in case of divorce. I called her immediately. Jessica, this prenup is insane. My lawyer says it's standard. Standard for what? A gold digger's playbook. How dare you call me a gold digger? Then explain this prenup. I'm protecting myself by making me pay for everything while you keep everything. You make more money, not that much more, and you have a trust fund. The trust fund is separate. Then so are my investments. That's not the same thing. How is it not the same thing? Silence. Jessica, this prenup makes me financially responsible for a wife who's already planning to leave me. That's not a marriage. That's a business arrangement where I'm the only one investing. Fine. Then what do you want in the prenup? Equal financial responsibility. We both keep premarital assets separate. We both contribute proportionally to marital expenses based on income. And if we divorce, we each keep what we brought in plus half of what we built together. That's not romantic. Neither is your version. But I need security, and I need a partner, not a dependent with a backup plan. She hung up. Update 6. The wedding venue crisis. Yesterday, the wedding coordinator from our Napa venue called me directly. Apparently, Jessica had been calling them daily asking about postponement options and cancellation policies. Mr. Thompson, the coordinator said, I'm getting mixed signals from your fiancée. She seems to want to postpone, but also keep asking about finalizing details. I need to know what's happening because I have other couples wanting your date. What did she tell you? That you two are having pre-wedding stress about combining finances and need more time to work things out. But then she asked if we could change the name cards to show her keeping her maiden name and if we could adjust the seating chart to separate your families more. Jesus. What kind of adjustments? She wanted your family on one side of the venue and hers on the other. When I asked why, she said something about managing expectations and not wanting awkward conversations about the couple's different approaches to marriage. Did she say anything else? She asked if we've ever hosted commitment ceremonies instead of weddings. When I asked what she meant, she said maybe you two weren't ready for full marriage but wanted to celebrate your partnership instead. I thanked the coordinator and hung up, then immediately called Jessica. What the hell is a commitment ceremony? Oh, you talked to the venue? Yeah, I talked to the venue. What's going on, Jess? I was just exploring options. Maybe we're rushing into marriage. Maybe we should just commit to being together without all the legal stuff. Let me guess, the legal stuff that would give me any claim to your trust fund. That's not why. Then why? Because maybe marriage isn't right for us right now. Maybe we need more time. More time for what? For you to find someone who will sign your prenup? Don't be an ass. I'm not being an ass. I'm being clear. You want a commitment ceremony so you can have the party and the gifts and the social status of being married without actually being married. It's not about gifts. Then what is it about? Long pause. I'm scared, okay? I'm scared of making the wrong choice. Scared of marrying me specifically or scared of marriage in general? I don't know. Then we definitely shouldn't be getting married. Marcus, wait, I hung up. Update 7, the social media disaster. This morning, I woke up to 47 notifications. Jessica had posted on Instagram at 3 a.m. a long, rambling story about toxic masculinity and financial abuse. The post read, when your partner tries to control your family money and manipulate you into giving up your security, that's financial abuse. Women, never give up your independence for a man who thinks your safety net threatens his masculinity. I'm learning that sometimes the person you love most is the person who hurts you deepest. Financial abuse, toxic masculinity, women support women, trust your gut. She tagged our mutual friends, her family, and somehow even my workplace. My phone started buzzing immediately. First call was from my mom. Marcus, honey, what's this about financial abuse? Mom, it's complicated. Your father and I are very confused. We thought Jessica was the one with the trust fund. She is. Then how are you financially abusing her? According to her, by not wanting to pay for everything while she keeps her money separate. That doesn't sound like abuse, honey. My boss called next. Hey, Marcus, I some concerning posts on social media. Is everything okay? Do you need some time off? I'm fine, Derek. Just some pre-wedding drama that got blown out of proportion. Okay, but if you need to talk to HR about anything, it's not a work issue. My fiancé just had some interesting ideas about financial equality. Then came the text from friends. Dude, Jessica's Instagram is insane. What happened? Tyler, is it true you're trying to steal her trust fund? Sarah, bro, run. This girl is crazy. Kevin, I always knew she was high maintenance, but this is next level. Amanda. But the best one was from Jessica's own cousin, Melissa. Marcus, I saw Jess's post. Don't let her play victim. She's been bragging to the family for months about how she's going to keep her options open after marriage. We all knew this would blow up eventually. I screenshotted that one. Update 8. The final confrontation. Jessica showed up at my apartment tonight with her mother and sister Emma. They barged in like they owned the place. How dare you embarrass my daughter on social media? Linda shrieked. I haven't posted anything on social media. Your silence is making her look bad. Her own posts are making her look bad. Emma jumped in. She's getting death threats from your toxic male followers. I have maybe 200 Instagram followers, most of them from work or cycling. Nobody's sending death threats. You need to post something supportive, Linda demanded. Supporting what? Her calling me financially abusive for wanting equal treatment? Jessica had been quiet, but now she exploded. You are being financially abusive. You're trying to control my inheritance. I haven't touched your inheritance. I just want the same protection you want. That's different. How? Because I'm giving up more. What exactly are you giving up that I'm not? My independence, my freedom, my ability to leave if you turn out to be a monster. And I'm giving up what? My freedom? My independence? My ability to leave if you turn out to be using me. Emma scoffed. Men always have more options. Women need security. Women need security, but men need to provide it while getting none themselves. Linda tried a different approach. Marcus, dear, you're clearly not ready for marriage. Why don't you just admit it? You're right. I'm not ready to marry someone who wants a husband, but not a partnership. Jessica started crying again. I do want a partnership. No, you want a safety net with benefits. What does that even mean? It means you want me to take all the risk while you minimize yours. You want me to commit fully while you hedge your bets. You want a partner who provides security while you maintain your exit strategy. I'm not maintaining an exit strategy. The trust fund is literally an exit strategy. It's family money. And you're choosing your family money over our family. The crying stopped. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Jess, but it should be equal. Emma tried one last guilt trip. The wedding is in 3 weeks. Do you have any idea how much money we'll lose? Less than I would have lost in the divorce you're all already planning. They left in a huff. Update 9. The wedding is off. Official. This morning, Jessica sent a group text to our entire wedding party. Due to irreconcilable differences regarding financial compatibility, Marcus and I have decided to postpone our wedding indefinitely. We appreciate everyone's support during this difficult time. Then she sent me a separate text. I hope you're happy. You've ruined everything over money. I replied, I didn't ruin anything over money. You did. I was just trying to be smart. You were trying to have your cake and eat it too. What's that supposed to mean? You wanted all the benefits of marriage with none of the risks. You wanted a partnership where only I was fully invested. I was fully invested. No, you were conditionally invested. Fully invested means you don't keep a backup plan. So, I'm supposed to trust you completely, but you don't have to trust me? Jess, you literally told me you were keeping separate money in case our marriage failed. How is that trusting me? Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to Cabo with my groomsmen during what would have been our honeymoon week. You're going to figure out what you actually want in a relationship. If you ever decide you want a real partner instead of a financial safety net, let me know. Don't hold your breath. I won't. Update 10. The aftermath. It's been 2 weeks since the official cancellation. The fallout has been illuminating. I lost about $8 in non-refundable deposits, venue, catering, flowers. Jessica's family lost significantly more because they were paying for most of the wedding. Apparently, David is furious about the money and has been taking it out on Jessica. My family has been incredibly supportive. My dad called yesterday. Son, you dodged a bullet. A woman who starts marriage planning her divorce isn't wife material. I loved her dad. I know. But love isn't enough if the other person doesn't want the same thing you want. She wanted marriage. No, she wanted a wedding. There's a difference. Jessica's been telling people I abandoned her over money, but the truth is coming out through mutual friends. Tyler ran into her sister Emma at a bar in the marina last weekend. Emma was drunk and bitter. Jessica's such an idiot. She had a guy willing to marry her and let her keep her trust fund, and she blew it up because she wanted him to pay for everything too. Now she's broke because dad cut off her allowance and she's living off the trust fund she was so worried about protecting. Apparently, David was so embarrassed by the wedding cancellation that he's making Jessica pay him back for the wedding expenses. She's burning through her safety net faster than she expected. I heard through the grapevine that she's been on dating apps, specifically targeting guys in finance who make more money than I do. Madison mentioned that Jessica's new strategy is to find someone who appreciates her value. Good luck with that. Update 11, the new beginning. 3 months post-cancellation, I'm doing great. The money I was going to spend on a wedding and honeymoon went into my investment account instead. My portfolio is up 12% this year. I've been dating casually. Nothing serious yet, but I'm enjoying the process. Last week, I had coffee with a woman named Rachel who works in sustainable energy. When we got to talking about finances, she laughed and said, obviously we'd combine everything if we got married. That's what marriage means, all in together. It was refreshing to hear someone understand what partnership actually looks like. I ran into Jessica 2 weeks ago at a coffee shop in the financial district. She looked tired, stressed. She approached me hesitantly. Hi, Marcus. Hey, Jess. How are you? Good. Really good. You? I'm learning a lot about myself. That's good. Awkward pause. I've been thinking about what you said, about partnerships and equal investment. Oh? I think maybe I wasn't ready for marriage, real marriage. Maybe not. Do you think people can change? I think people can grow, but they have to want to. I want to. That's great, Jess. I hope you find what you're looking for. What if what I'm looking for is you? I looked at her for a long moment. Jess, you spent 3.5 years with me and still wanted divorce insurance. Even if you've changed, I have too. I know what I want now, and it's someone who's all in from the start. She started tearing up. So that's it? We're really done? We've been done since the moment you said just in case. I'm sorry. I know, but sorry doesn't change what you showed me about how you view marriage. She walked away crying. Update 12, the extended fallout and family drama. The weeks following my coffee encounter with Jessica brought even more revelations about how deep her family's dysfunction ran. It started when Jessica's cousin Melissa reached out to me directly with information I never saw coming. Marcus, I need to tell you something, she said when she called me at work. The whole trust fund thing? It's not what Jessica told you. What do you mean? I mean, the trust fund doesn't actually exist anymore. Hasn't for 2 years. I nearly dropped my phone. What? Jessica's grandmother lost most of it in bad investments managed by Jessica's uncle. There's maybe $30 left, and it's tied up in legal disputes between family members. Jessica's been living off credit cards and her parents' money for months. But she showed me bank statements. Fake, or old, or both. She's been lying about her financial situation this whole time. This explains so much. Why she was so desperate for me to pay for everything. Why she wanted me to take on her student loans in the prenup. Why she was frantically trying to lock me into marriage before I figured it out. Melissa, why are you telling me this? Because she's my cousin and I love her, but what she did to you was wrong. And now she's doing the same thing to this hedge fund guy, Brad. She's telling him she has a trust fund too. Jesus. There's more. The wedding cancellation? She's been telling everyone you left her at the altar. Literally. She's got this whole story about how you disappeared the morning of the wedding, and she had to tell 200 guests that you'd abandoned her. I was speechless. I just thought you should know, in case it affects your work or social life. She's really committed to this victim narrative. After hanging up, I sat in my office trying to process everything. The woman I'd planned to marry had been living a completely fabricated financial life. Everything about our relationship had been built on lies. Update 13. The legal complications. 2 weeks after Melissa's revelation, I got served with legal papers. Jessica was suing me for breach of promise to marry and seeking damages for the wedding expenses, emotional distress, and reputational harm. Her lawsuit claimed that I had maliciously and intentionally canceled our wedding without cause and had engaged in financial manipulation that caused her to lose money and social standing. She was seeking $85,000 in damages. I immediately called my lawyer, James Chen, who I'd worked with on some real estate deals. "Marcus, this is frivolous," he said after reviewing the papers. "California doesn't really recognize breach of promise suits anymore, and even if they did, she'd have to prove you acted in bad faith." "How do we prove I didn't?" "Easy. We show that she misrepresented her financial situation and that you had legitimate concerns about financial compatibility. Do you have any evidence of the lies about her trust fund?" "I can get it." "Get it. We're going to countersue for fraud and intentional misrepresentation." The next few weeks were a blur of depositions, document requests, and legal strategy sessions. Melissa provided bank records showing the trust fund's actual status. I provided screenshots of Jessica's social media posts about financial abuse. My financial advisor provided records showing Jessica's attempts to manipulate our joint financial planning. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source: Brad, the hedge fund manager Jessica was dating. He called me directly after being served with a subpoena. "You're the ex-fiancé," he said. "I need to talk to you." We met at a bar in the financial district. Brad was exactly what you'd expect. Expensive suit, Rolex, the kind of confidence that comes from managing other people's money. "She told me the same story she told you," he said. "Trust fund, family money, just wanting security. But my private investigator found out the truth." "You ran a background check on your girlfriend?" "I run background checks on everyone. Occupational hazard. The trust fund story is bullshit. Her debt is massive, and she's been lying about everything from her credit score to her job performance reviews." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because she's suing you for money she never had while dating me for money I do have. I don't appreciate being used as a pawn in her legal strategy." Brad agreed to testify about Jessica's pattern of financial deception. With his testimony, Melissa's documents, and my evidence, Jessica's lawsuit crumbled. But she wasn't done yet. Update 14. The Scorched Earth campaign. When Jessica's lawsuit failed, she went nuclear on social media. Not just Instagram this time. Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, even Nextdoor. She created what she called the Marcus Thompson Truth Campaign. The posts were unhinged. "Ladies, this is what financial abuse looks like. Marcus Thompson, who works at my company, systematically manipulated and controlled my finances, then abandoned me when I tried to protect myself. He has a pattern of targeting vulnerable women. Beware." She included photos of us together, screenshots of our text conversations taken out of context, and even posted my LinkedIn profile with warnings about my abusive patterns. The posts got shared in local women's groups, professional networks, and dating communities. I started getting emails from HR about concerning online content related to my personal life. But Jessica made a critical mistake. She posted some of our private conversations that actually proved her deception. In one screenshot meant to show me being controlling, you could clearly see her admitting that she'd lied about the trust fund amount. The internet is undefeated when it comes to detecting inconsistencies. Women in her own Facebook groups started pointing out the contradictions in her story. Her comment sections became battlegrounds between people defending her and people calling out her lies. The turning point came when someone found her old Instagram posts from 6 months before we met, where she'd bragged about finessing a previous boyfriend into paying for a vacation by lying about family emergencies. "This girl has a pattern," commented someone named Sarah Cornose. "She targets successful men and plays victim when they figure out her games." Within 48 hours, Jessica's truth campaign had backfired spectacularly. The consensus online was that she was the manipulative one, not me. She deleted everything and went radio silent. Update 15. the intervention from unexpected sources. A month later, I got a call from Jessica's father, David. His tone was completely different from our previous conversations. "Marcus, I need to apologize." "For what?" "For enabling my daughter's behavior and for not seeing what was really happening." He went on to explain that Jessica had been lying to her family too. She told them I was making unreasonable demands and trying to control her inheritance. They believed her and supported her against me. "When did you find out the truth?" I asked. "When the credit card bills started coming to our house. Jessica's been living beyond her means for years, and we've been covering it without realizing the extent of the problem." Apparently, Jessica owed over $60,000 in credit card debt, had defaulted on her car loan, and had been using her parents' credit cards without permission. The trust fund story was her way of trying to seem financially stable while looking for someone to solve her money problems, David continued. "We're cutting her off financially and making her get professional help. That's probably for the best." "Marcus, I know this doesn't fix anything, but I want you to know that Linda and I realize now that you were the best thing that happened to our daughter. You were trying to build something real with her, and she was just trying to use you. It was validating to hear, even though it didn't change anything." 2 days later, Linda called with her own apology. Through tears, she admitted that they'd raised Jessica to believe she deserved to be taken care of without having to give anything in return. "We created this monster," she said, "and now she's alone and in debt and blaming everyone except herself." Update 16. The cascade effect. Jessica's behavior had started affecting her professional life too. Her employer, a mid-sized marketing firm, had become aware of her social media campaigns and her legal troubles. When clients started asking questions about the financial abuse posts that mentioned the company name, they decided she was too much of a liability. She was quietly let go with a minimal severance package. Emma, her sister, reached out to fill me in on the family drama. Jessica had moved back in with her parents, but was making their lives miserable with constant demands for money and emotional support. She spends all day on her laptop, either online shopping or researching how to expose you and Brad, Emma told me. She's convinced that if she can just prove you're both terrible people, everyone will see her as the victim again. How are your parents handling it? Dad changed all the passwords on the credit cards and bank accounts. Mom hides her purse when Jessica's around. They're talking about staging an intervention or cutting her off completely. Emma paused. Marcus, I need to ask you something. Do you think she's having some kind of breakdown? Because the person living in our house isn't the sister I grew up with. I thought about it. I think she's facing consequences for her choices for the first time in her life, and she doesn't know how to handle it. She keeps talking about getting revenge on you and Brad. Should we be worried? I don't know. Maybe you should talk to someone about getting her professional help. Emma sighed. We've tried. She says therapy is for weak people and that she doesn't need help. Everyone else needs to stop lying about her. Update 17. The attempted comeback. 3 months into what I was hoping would be permanent radio silence from Jessica, she attempted a comeback. She'd started a blog called Surviving Financial Abuse, where she positioned herself as an expert on recognizing and escaping manipulative relationships. The blog was full of thinly veiled references to our relationship, painting me as a master manipulator who had love-bombed her into a false sense of security before revealing my controlling nature. She'd also started offering coaching services for women who were recovering from financially abusive relationships. Her rates were $200 per hour. The blog got some initial traction in certain online communities, but it didn't take long for people to start digging into her story. The same inconsistencies that had destroyed her social media campaign began appearing in the comment sections of her blog posts. One commenter, who claimed to be a licensed therapist, pointed out that Jessica's descriptions of financial abuse were actually descriptions of normal financial boundaries and accountability. Another commenter found her old social media posts bragging about manipulating previous boyfriends and linked them in the comments. The blog died a quiet death within 2 months when Jessica couldn't handle the negative feedback and criticism. but she wasn't ready to give up yet. Update 18. The dating app warning network. This is where things got really weird. I started hearing from friends that Jessica was using dating apps under a slightly modified name, Jessie instead of Jessica, and had created completely fictional backstories for herself. According to Tyler, who'd seen her profile on Bumble, she was claiming to be a financial consultant instead of unemployed, said she was recently divorced instead of a canceled engagement, and listed her interests as philanthropy and sustainable investing. She'd never shown interest in either. But the most disturbing part was that she was specifically targeting men in tech and finance, basically guys with similar profiles to me and Brad. Rachel, who I'd been dating seriously for several months by this point, actually matched with Jessica on a dating app before we realized the connection. Rachel had been looking at women's profiles just out of curiosity about what the local dating scene looked like. Your ex is using photos that are at least 2 years old and claiming she's an entrepreneur who splits her time between San Francisco and Napa, Rachel told me, showing me the profile. She says she's looking for someone who values family and tradition and wants to build an empire together. We decided to dig deeper. Rachel created a fake male profile, attractive tech worker, high income, all the things Jessica seemed to be targeting. Within 24 hours, Jessica had super liked the fake profile and sent a message. The message was a carefully crafted sob story about being betrayed by someone she trusted and now being more careful about who she opens her heart to. She mentioned her family wealth and her desire to find someone who wouldn't be intimidated by a successful woman. Rachel and I documented everything, not because we planned to do anything with it, but because Jessica's behavior was becoming genuinely concerning. Update 19. The intervention that worked. The breaking point came when Jessica tried to contact my new employer. I'd recently switched jobs to a startup focused on sustainable technology, partially because I wanted a fresh start away from the drama. She somehow found out about my job change and called the company's HR department, claiming she was my former business partner and that I had outstanding legal obligations to her that made me a financial risk to employ. My new boss, Kate, called me into her office to discuss the unusual call they'd received. Marcus, someone claiming to be Jessica Chin, called saying she used to work with you and that you have some kind of lawsuit pending. Kate, that's my ex-fiancée, and she's been harassing me for months. There is no lawsuit. We countersued her for fraud, and she dropped her claims. I explained the whole situation, including Jessica's pattern of lies and escalating behavior. Kate was understanding, but concerned about the potential impact on the company. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "Honestly, I might need to get a restraining order. Her behavior is escalating, and now she's trying to affect my employment." Kate nodded. "Do what you need to do. We've got your back, but document everything." That conversation finally convinced me to take legal action. I called James, my lawyer, and we filed for a restraining order based on Jessica's harassment, lies to my employer, and pattern of escalating behavior. The court hearing was surreal. Jessica showed up with a folder of evidence that included printouts of my social media posts, photos of my apartment building, apparently she'd been driving by, and a handwritten timeline of what she called Marcus's campaign of retaliation. The judge was not impressed. "Miss Chin, you're claiming Mr. Thompson is harassing you, but the evidence shows that you've been contacting his employers, posting about him online, and attempting to damage his reputation. That's the definition of harassment." "But he abandoned me," Jessica protested. "Ending an engagement is not abandonment. It's a legal right. The restraining order is granted." Jessica had to stay at least 500 feet away from me, my home, my workplace, and was prohibited from contacting me directly or indirectly through social media, employers, or third parties. Update 20. The ripple effects. The restraining order seemed to break something in Jessica's delusion that she was the victim in our situation. According to Emma, who kept me updated despite the restraining order, Jessica finally agreed to see a therapist. "She's been diagnosed with some personality issues," Emma told me during a brief phone call. "I can't get into specifics, but the therapist is helping her understand that her behavior has been problematic." How is she handling that? Not well initially. She fired the first two therapists for taking your side, but the third one seems to be getting through to her. She's starting to acknowledge that maybe she made some mistakes. Emma also mentioned that Jessica had been forced to declare bankruptcy due to her credit card debt and legal fees. The hedge fund manager Brad had ended things after discovering her lies, and she'd been unable to maintain her lifestyle. She's working at a Starbucks now, Emma said. It's the first real job she's had in months, and I think the reality of supporting herself is finally sinking in. Meanwhile, my life was moving forward. Rachel and I had gotten much more serious. We'd moved in together, opened joint accounts, and were talking about getting engaged. The contrast between her approach to our relationship and Jessica's couldn't have been starker. When Rachel and I decided to buy a condo together, she insisted on contributing equally to the down payment, even though I made more money. I want this to be ours, she said, not yours that I happen to live in. That's what partnership actually looks like. Update 21, the unexpected letter. A year after the restraining order, I received a letter in the mail. The return address was Jessica's parents' house, but the handwriting was clearly Jessica's. My first instinct was to call my lawyer, but curiosity got the better of me. The letter was long, 6 pages of handwritten apologies and explanations. In it, Jessica took responsibility for her lies, her manipulation, and her attempts to damage my reputation. She explained that therapy had helped her realize that she'd been living in a fantasy world where she was always the victim and everyone else was responsible for her problems. She admitted to making up the trust fund story, acknowledged that she'd been financially irresponsible, and apologized for trying to manipulate me into taking care of her while she maintained an escape plan. The most revealing part was where she wrote about her childhood and how her parents had always bailed her out of consequences, leading her to believe that someone would always solve her problems. I realize now that I wasn't trying to marry you, she wrote. I was trying to replace parents with a husband who would take care of me the same way they always had. That's not marriage. That's extended childhood. She ended the letter by saying she understood why I'd moved on, that she was genuinely happy I'd found someone who could be a real partner, and that she was working on becoming the kind of person who could have a healthy relationship someday. I don't expect forgiveness, she concluded, and I'm not asking for a response. I just needed you to know that I finally understand what you were trying to tell me about partnership and equal commitment. I'm sorry it took me so long to learn. I showed the letter to Rachel, who read it thoughtfully. How do you feel about it? She asked. Honestly, relieved. It feels like closure. Are you going to respond? No. I think the best thing for both of us is for this chapter to stay closed. Rachel nodded. But it's nice to know she's getting help and taking responsibility. Yeah, it is. Final update. The lesson learned. 1 year later. It's been 2 years since Jessica and I broke up, and I'm writing this final update from the home that Rachel and I bought together. We got engaged 6 months ago with a ring we picked out together, and a proposal that was a genuine surprise, but not a financial one. We'd already discussed our budget and timeline for marriage. Our approach to finances is completely transparent. We maintain individual accounts for personal spending, but share a joint account for all household expenses, savings goals, and future plans. When we get married next spring, we're combining everything. No separate accounts, no backup plans, no just-in-case scenarios. That's what trust actually looks like. I occasionally get updates about Jessica through mutual connections. She's apparently doing well in therapy, has paid down most of her debt, and is working as a coordinator at a nonprofit. Emma mentioned that she's been single for over a year by choice, focusing on figuring out who she is outside of relationships. That sounds healthy. The whole experience taught me some valuable lessons about relationships and red flags. When someone says they're planning for your relationship to fail, believe them. Financial values are relationship values. Someone who wants to privatize their gains while socializing their losses isn't ready for partnership. Love isn't enough if you want fundamentally different things. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, but you have to let it go. Most importantly, I learned what I actually want in a partner, someone who's as invested in our success as I am, someone who sees marriage as all in rather than maybe, someone who wants to build something together rather than maintain separate kingdoms. Rachel is all of those things. When we talk about our future, there's no hedging, no backup plans, no what ifs, just two people excited to build a life together. That's the difference between someone who wants to get married and someone who's ready to be married. Jessica wanted the wedding, the social status, the financial security, and the romantic fantasy of marriage, but she wasn't ready for the actual vulnerability and commitment that marriage requires. I wanted a partner. She wanted a provider with benefits. We both got what we actually wanted in the end. I got someone who's genuinely committed to building something together, and she got the opportunity to figure out who she is as an individual. Sometimes the best outcome is when everyone gets exactly what they asked for, even if it's not what they thought they wanted. The moral of the story remains the same. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Jessica showed me she was someone who wanted marriage with an escape hatch. I showed her I was someone who wanted marriage without safety nets. We were incompatible from the start. It just took a wedding cancellation, a lawsuit, a restraining order, and 2 years of therapy for her to realize it. These days, I sleep well knowing I'm building something real with someone who's as committed as I am. No backup plans needed when you're both genuinely invested in making it work. As for Jessica's trust fund that never existed, I kept my investments, grew them responsibly, and used them to build a real future with someone who deserves it. Funny how that worked out.